You ever meet someone and it's like the whole world slows down for a second? Like you've known them forever, but you also know deep down that they are going to change your life in some kind of irreversible way. And before you think, oh, that sounds romantic and magical, let me just say, karmic relationships are not the kind of thing you necessarily want to put on your vision board. They are intense, messy, transformational. And when astrology is involved, well, the chart doesn't lie. So today we are going to talk about the biggest signs you are in a karmic relationship and how to spot them through astrology. By the end of this, you'll either feel called out, deeply validated, or maybe a little bit of both. And I'm Alina. Let's dive in. Let's take a moment to clear up some common confusion, because not every intense connection is karmic, and understanding the difference can save you a lot of emotional energy. Twin flames. Think of a twin flame as your mirror. This is the person who reflects back your deepest self, the good, the shadow, everything you've hidden even from yourself. Meeting a twin flame is intense, often disruptive and sometimes chaotic, because their purpose is to spark self-awareness. You'll feel like you're being pushed to grow faster than you ever expected. Astrologically, twin flames often show up with strong one-on-one personal planet contacts, sometimes Pluto or Uranus hitting your sun, moon, or ascendant. There's an instant mirror effect. You see yourself in them, which can feel magical, validating, or terrifying. Twin flames are about self-growth through mirroring, not necessarily long-term romantic stability. Soulmates are different. They are harmonious connections. You feel supported, aligned, and understood. These are the people who help you expand in a positive way. The growth here is smoother, more loving, and less about trauma or intense lessons. Astrologically, soulmates often have beneficial Venus, Jupiter, or Sun connections in synastry. Their energy complements yours. There's mutual respect and emotional ease. While not every soulmate lasts forever, the energy of the connection feels right, natural, and comfortable rather than challenging. And then we have karmic partners, the type of connection we're diving into today. Karmic partners are all about growth through friction. The lessons can be painful, the push and pull intense, and the connection addictive. You're triggered, challenged, and forced to confront patterns, fears, and past life lessons. Astrologically, karmic relationships often light up the 8th and 12th houses, involve South Node ties, Pluto contacts, or hard Saturn aspects. These planets and houses are all about transformation, hidden energy, intensity, and lessons that can't be ignored. Here's an interactive moment for you. Take a moment and reflect on your connection. Ask yourself, do I feel mirrored or challenged in this relationship? If it's mirroring, you might be dealing with a twin flame. If it feels harmonious and uplifting, that's soulmate energy. If it's intense, consuming, and repeatedly triggers patterns, welcome. You might be deep in karmic territory. So what exactly is a karmic relationship? Let's start with the spiritual side of it. In the simplest terms, a karmic relationship is a soul agreement, something your spirit signed up for before you were even born. Think of it like a contract from a past life. Maybe there were unfinished lessons. Maybe there was a debt to repay. Maybe there was a promise to meet again in order to trigger growth. The point isn't to make you comfortable. The point is to push you. These relationships are about lessons, transformation, and evolution, often through challenge, sometimes through heartbreak, but always with purpose. Before we go any further, let's clear up some myths, because there's a lot of misinformation out there about karmic connections. Myth number 1. Karmic equals toxic. Not every karmic relationship is a nightmare. Yes, they can be intense, and yes, they can challenge your boundaries, but that doesn't automatically make them unhealthy. Some karmic connections are supportive, transformative, and even healing. They just push you to grow in ways that feel uncomfortable at first. The intensity isn't always drama for drama's sake. It's often a catalyst for self-awareness and personal evolution. Myth number 2. Karmic equals eternal. Just because a connection feels deep and faded doesn't mean it meant to last forever. Karmic relationships are often temporary by design. Their purpose is to teach, trigger growth, or bring unresolved issues to the surface. Once the lesson is learned, the relationship may naturally release, and that's okay. In fact, that's the point. The universe isn't keeping you in a connection just because it's destined. Myth number 3. Karmic equals all pain, no joy. Karmic doesn't mean life is all suffering. There are moments of joy, intimacy, and even bliss. The highs can be euphoric, the connection magnetic. It's the contrast of intensity and challenge that defines the karmic energy. Think of it like a roller coaster, thrilling, sometimes scary, and always unforgettable. So karmic relationships can be supportive, intense, or even fun. The key is understanding that intensity and challenge don't automatically equal toxicity. Instead, view them as soul-level opportunities. Even a short karmic connection can leave you wiser, stronger, and more aware of your patterns. Here's something to reflect on. When you think about your own intense connections, ask yourself, was this relationship meant to hurt me, or was it meant to teach me? That simple shift in perspective changes how you process the experience and empowers you to take the lessons forward. Now let's talk astrology. Karmic connections tend to leave very loud fingerprints in your chart. You'll often see heavy 8th or 12th house synastry. Those are the houses of transformation, hidden truth, intimacy, and soul-level work. You might see South Node ties, which instantly create that I know you feeling, but also keep you locked in old patterns. Pluto connections can bring obsession, intimacy, and deep, sometimes destructive change. Saturn aspects, especially hard ones to personal planets, show where the relationship feels like work, where there's a sense of duty, responsibility, or lessons that can't be avoided. And here's where it's important to distinguish karmic relationships from other fated connections. Karmic relationships can be addictive because they feel destined. And in many ways they are, but destiny doesn't always mean forever. Sometimes it just means this is the person who will wake you up, and that wake-up call, it's written in the stars. Sign number 1, the instant intensity. You meet them and boom, it's like someone plugged you into an electrical outlet. Your heart is racing, your stomach flips, and you're suddenly hyper aware of every word they say, every move they make. It's not a slow build. It's immediate, undeniable, and almost unnerving. That is the classic "I've known you before" feeling. The conversations flow effortlessly. You feel weirdly safe spilling your secrets. And there's this deep familiarity you can't explain. It's not just chemistry, it's recognition. Astrologically, one of the biggest culprits here is South Node conjunctions. If your sun or moon falls right on someone's South Node, or theirs on yours, you're likely feeling that deja vu, because in a karmic sense, you have known each other before. The South Node represents the past lives, past patterns, past comfort zones. It's a cosmic breadcrumb trail leading back to old connections. It's also common to see vertex contacts here, especially in the 7th or 8th house, which can give that faded meeting vibe, like the universe set it up. Sometimes Pluto is involved, making the attraction magnetic, almost primal. You can't explain it, and you don't want to. The tricky part? That familiarity feels amazing at first, but it's also what makes it so hard to break away later. It's like meeting someone in a dream and not wanting to wake up. Except when you do wake up, the reality is a lot more complicated. Sign number 2, emotional highs and lows. One day you're floating, you're in love, everything is magical. You're convinced this is it. The universe's grand love story, staring you too. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, it all comes crashing down. A fight, a misunderstanding, an emotional blow-up, and suddenly you're wondering if you imagined the connection entirely. With karmic relationships, the emotional landscape is rarely flat. It's more like a series of dramatic peaks and valleys, extreme bliss followed by gut-wrenching lows. That intensity keeps you hooked because the highs feel euphoric, but the lows, they are devastating. And just when you're ready to walk away for good, something pulls you back into another high. Astrologically, that often points to Pluto's fingerprints. Pluto square Venus or Pluto opposite Moon are classic indicators. These aspects bring deep emotional transformation, but they can also create a push-pull dynamic or desire of destruction. Mars-Pluto aspects can add a layer of volatility where passion can easily flip into conflict. You might also find hard Uranus aspects here, especially Uranus to Venus or the Moon. Uranus brings sudden changes and unpredictability. It's the planet that keeps you on your toes, never quite sure what's coming next. It's thrilling, yes, but also exhausting. The danger is getting addicted to the drama. Those highs feel like proof of the connection. But in reality, they are often the adrenaline rush of unresolved karmic energy playing out over and over again. Sign number 3. Power struggles and control. Somewhere along the way, the balance starts to shift. Maybe it's subtle. A comment about who you talk to, how you dress, how much time you spend together. Or maybe it's blatant. Constant jealousy, keeping tabs on you, emotional ultimatums. The connection that once felt magnetic starts to feel like a tug of war. No matter who wins, someone always loses. In karmic relationships, control often hides under the guise of passion. I'm just protective of you. I can't help it. I care too much. But in reality, what's happening is an energetic battle for dominance. It's not just about love. It's about who holds the power in a relationship. Astrologically, this is prime Pluto territory. When Pluto lands in your 7th house in synastry or makes hard aspects to your personal planets, especially Mars, Venus, or the Moon, there's an intensity that can turn possessive. Mars-Pluto oppositions or squares can create competitive, even combative energy, where passion and conflict are two sides of the same coin. Saturn can also play a role here. Saturn square or opposite Venus, for example, can create a dynamic where love feels conditional, like you have to earn their approval or affection. That constant need to prove yourself becomes a power imbalance in itself. The tricky part is that this power struggle keeps the karmic loop alive. Each person is trying to gain the upper hand, to win in some way. But in karmic relationships, there is no winning, there's just the lesson. Sign number 4, repeating old patterns. Have you ever looked at a relationship and thought, wait, haven't I been here before? That's the hallmark of karmic energy. It's like your soul hits replay on a movie you've already seen. The same arguments, the same heartbreaks, the same dynamics showing up again and again. And no matter how much you think you've grown, that pattern somehow finds its way back into your life. Astrologically, this is classic South Node energy. The South Node represents the past, not just past lives, but also old habits and unresolved lessons. When your personal planets are conjunct, square, or opposite someone's South Node, it's like your souls recognize each other's unfinished business. The result? You're drawn together, almost compulsively, to act out these old patterns until the lesson is finally absorbed. Saturn aspects often reinforce this loop too. Hard Saturn aspects can bring karmic lessons wrapped in repetition. Do it differently this time, or feel it again. These aspects test your patience, boundaries, and maturity. The same arguments might resurface because one or both of you are being asked to finally confront and evolve past a lesson you've been avoiding. The kicker is repeating patterns aren't always obvious at first. Sometimes it's subtle. The same type of partner, the same triggers, or the same emotional reactions resurfacing. Other times it's glaring. The same fights, the same heartbreaks, even the same mistakes. Either way, it's a cosmic nudge. This is a karmic connection and growth is required. Sign number 5. You can't let go even when you try. You know that feeling when you've tried everything to move on, but no matter how many boundaries you set, how many final goodbyes you say, or how many distractions you throw yourself into, you're somehow pulled back into the same person's orbit. That's a classic karmic red flag. It's not about weakness or lack of self-control. It's the magnetic pull of unresolved karmic energy. Astrologically, this often shows up through Moon conjunct South Node, which creates an emotional bond that feels impossible to break. Your heart literally remembers, and even when your mind says enough, your emotions are still tangled in their energy. Hard Saturn aspects to personal planets, especially Venus or Moon, can make detachment feel heavy and painful. Like the universe is saying, not yet. There's still a lesson here. Pluto aspects can make it feel even more intense. Pluto doesn't do gentle endings. When Pluto is involved, separation feels like a death and rebirth cycle. It's painful, transformative, and addictive. That push-pull of leaving and returning is a signature of karmic relationships because the unresolved energy keeps both people tied together until the karmic lesson is learned. The frustrating part? This can't let go feeling is often what traps people in toxic loops. It's not that you want to stay, it's that the soul level energy hasn't been fully released yet. And until it is, it can feel like you're constantly being dragged back into the same story over and over again. Sign number 6. Deep life lessons and painful growth. Karmic relationships aren't just about romance and chemistry. They're about growth. And growth is rarely comfortable. Often these connections push you to face parts of yourself you've been avoiding, whether it's fear, insecurity, or patterns you didn't even know existed. It's like the universe hired this person as your personal life coach, except the lessons come wrapped in heartbreak, conflict, or emotional intensity. Astrologically, Chiron aspects are big here. Chiron is the wounded healer. It points to the areas where you carry old pain. And when it's activated in a relationship, you're forced to confront those wounds. Hard Saturn aspects often show up too, bringing a sense of restriction, responsibility, or challenge. The relationship isn't just about feeling love, it's about feeling everything and learning from it. Pluto also plays a major role in this type of growth. Pluto contacts can trigger deep transformation, sometimes through crisis, sometimes through emotional intensity. These lessons can feel overwhelming in the moment, but the truth is that karmic relationships are meant to expand your awareness, strengthen your resilience, and ultimately help you step into your true self. Here's the catch. It doesn't always feel fair. You might feel like you're constantly tested or that the lessons are too harsh, but that's the hallmark of a karmic connection. It's meant to catalyze growth, often through friction and discomfort, rather than ease and comfort. Sign number 7. Transformation through crisis. Karmic relationships have a way of shaking your life to its core. Sometimes it's not just emotional upheaval, it's real-life events that force you to change. A sudden move, a career upheaval, financial struggles, family drama. These relationships have a way of showing up during the storms of life, or sometimes creating the storms themselves. It's like the universe saying, you're ready for transformation. Now let's make it unavoidable. Astrologically, Pluto transits are the usual suspects here, especially when they hit your 1st, 4th, 7th, or 10th houses. Pluto is the planet of deep transformation, and when it interacts with your personal planets in karmic relationships, it often brings intense circumstances that push you to shed old patterns and emerge stronger. Saturn transits can also create situations that feel heavy or karmic in nature, the lesson often comes wrapped in challenge. These crises aren't random. They are almost always aligned with the karmic lessons the relationship is meant to teach. Yes, they're hard. Yes, they're uncomfortable. And yes, sometimes they make you question why you ever met that person. But the transformation that comes through these experiences is rarely optional. It's necessary. The beauty of this sign is that it shows you how karmic relationships act as catalysts for change. You don't just experience life with them. Life happens through them. And that's what makes these connections unforgettable, even after they are gone. Sign number 8. Feeling drained or consumed. Have you ever spent time with someone and left feeling like you've run a marathon, emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually? That's a classic karmic sign. These relationships can be magnetic, exciting, and intense, but they often come at a cost: your energy. You give more than you get, and even when the connection feels passionate, it can leave you exhausted, depleted, or emotionally spent. Astrologically, Neptune aspects often play a role here, especially Neptune in hard aspects to personal planets like Sun, Moon, or Venus. Neptune blurs boundaries, making it hard to separate your energy from theirs. You absorb their emotions, their moods, and even their stress. Heavy 12th house placements in synastry can do the same, creating a sense of being swallowed by the relationship's emotional undercurrents. The tricky part is that this draining energy can feel addictive. There's a pull you can't quite resist, even when your body and mind are screaming for space. Karmic relationships often push you to learn boundaries, self-care, and how to maintain your individuality while navigating deep emotional connections. Feeling drained isn't just a side effect, it's the universe's way of saying, pay attention. There's a lesson here about your energy, your limits, and your own power. Learning to recognize this pattern is key to understanding the karmic nature of the relationship and protecting yourself as you grow. Sign number 9. Lessons around self-worth. One of the most common and painful signs of a karmic relationship is the way it forces you to confront your sense of self-worth. You might find yourself bending, compromising, or sacrificing parts of yourself just to keep the peace, to earn love, or to feel enough for the other person. These relationships are master classes in self-reflection. They show you where you've been giving your power away and where you need to reclaim it. Astrologically, this often shows up with Venus-Saturn hard aspects. Venus represents love, value, and self-worth, while Saturn represents restrictions, challenges, and life lessons. When these two interact karmically, love often feels conditional and your worth feels tested. So the node in the second house can amplify this pattern, reminding you of past life lessons around material security, value, and self-esteem. Basically, you're here to learn that your value doesn't depend on anyone else. In karmic relationships, it's easy to get caught in a cycle of proving yourself, seeking validation, or trying to fix things that aren't yours to fix. But the lesson is powerful. True growth comes when you recognize your own worth first, independent of the other person. These connections are mirrors. They reflect back the parts of yourself you might have ignored, undervalued, or doubted, and they push you to reclaim your power. Once you start seeing this pattern, you begin to understand that the relationship isn't just about them. It's about you learning to honor your own value, set boundaries, and recognize that love should never come at the cost of who you are. Sign number 10. Sense of fate or cosmic timing. Sometimes when you meet a karmic partner, it feels like the universe literally orchestrated the moment. The timing is uncanny, the circumstances bizarrely perfect or eerily coincidental, and there's this deep sense that you were always meant to cross paths, even if the connection is challenging or painful. It's the undeniable feeling that fate, destiny, or the cosmos itself is involved. Astrologically, vertex contacts in synastry are often behind this sensation. The vertex is considered a point of fated encounters in a chart, and when it interacts with personal planets, it can make meetings feel meant to be on a soul level. Eclipses hitting your sun, moon, or other relationship planets when you meet someone can amplify this sense of cosmic timing. Even heavy south node connections contribute, making the bond feel familiar and predestined. The magic, and sometimes the curse, of this sign is that it can make living almost impossible. You tell yourself, maybe this meant to be. Maybe there's a reason we're here. And even when every other sign points to caution, you feel compelled to stay. That pull is exactly why karmic relationships are so transformative. They feel like destiny. Because in a very real sense, they are. Not necessarily destined for forever, but destined to teach, challenge, and change you. Recognizing this sign helps you see the bigger picture. The connection is significant, yes, but its purpose is to trigger growth, reflection, and awakening. Sometimes, knowing that can make even the toughest karmic lessons feel meaningful. Alright, now that we've gone through the signs, let's talk about how you can see the karmic fingerprints in your own life using astrology. First, start with synastry. That's when you compare your chart to your partners. Look for south node contacts. If your sun, moon, Venus, or Mars lands on their south node or theirs on yours, it's an immediate sign of karmic energy. You're dealing with past life patterns here. The universe literally is saying, you two have unfinished business. Next, check for Pluto aspects. Pluto in hard aspects to personal planets like Venus, Mars, or the moon in synastry can create that magnetic, all-consuming intensity we talked about. It's transformative, it's obsessive, and yes, it's a hallmark of karmic ties. Saturn aspects are also huge. When Saturn hits your partner's Venus, moon, or sun, the relationship can feel heavy, like it's testing you. These aspects often show where the lessons are, where patience, boundaries, and growth are required. Love might feel conditional or challenging, but it's destined to teach resilience and self-awareness. Then take a look at the composite chart, which represents the relationship itself. Heavy 8th or 12th house placements here indicate deep transformative energy. The 8th house is about intimacy, shared resources, and life or death transformations, while the 12th house governs hidden patterns, subconscious energy, and spiritual lessons. If your composite chart is lit up here, you're in for an intense soul-level connection. Timing also matters. Look at transits and progressions around the time you met. Was Pluto transiting your 7th house ruler, Saturn? Was there an eclipse hitting a personal or relationship planet? These cosmic triggers often mark the fated moment you entered each other's lives. Finally, pay attention to the patterns in your own chart. Are your personal planets heavily aspected by the south node, Saturn, or Pluto? Those placements often attract karmic mirrors, people who reflect your unresolved issues and force you to grow. The key takeaway is this: astrology doesn't just tell you that you're in a karmic relationship, it shows you why, how, and sometimes what lesson is unfolding. The more you understand the chart, the more empowered you become to navigate the intensity without losing yourself. Because karmic relationships are about evolution, not annihilation, and your birth chart is the map. One of the most fascinating things about karmic relationships is how often timing plays a role. The universe isn't random. There are patterns, cycles, and planetary triggers that can bring certain people into your life at exactly the right or intense moment. Understanding these cycles can feel like a mini astrology masterclass and can help you make sense of why these connections feel so fated. Pluto transits. Pluto is the ultimate transformer. When Pluto transits your 7th house, the house of partnerships, you might meet someone who shakes your entire relational world. It's rarely casual. Pluto triggers transformation, intensity, and sometimes obsession. You'll feel like this person has arrived to catalyze deep change, whether through lessons, challenges, or soul-level growth. Saturn transits often bring karmic tests. When Saturn hits your personal planets or angles, it's about lessons, responsibilities, and boundaries. Meeting someone during a heavy Saturn transit can feel serious, fated, or even restrictive. It's like the universe is handing you a mirror to see what you need to learn in relationships: patience, boundaries, self-worth, or emotional resilience. Eclipses are cosmic accelerators. New or full eclipses triggering your sun, moon, or personal planets can mark the entrance of someone significant. Sometimes karmic eclipses illuminate hidden truths, bring endings, or trigger beginnings. Often, karmic connections arrive during these periods, leaving you with a feeling of destiny or inevitability. Progressions and personal cycles. Sometimes it's subtler. Progressions in your chart can align with planetary cycles to trigger karmic connections at the right moment. For example, a progressed moon touching your descendant might make you more receptive to intense emotional partnerships, or a progressed Venus activating your 8th house can pull in transformative, soul-deep connections. Here's a little reflective question for you. Think back to the moment you met your intense connection. Were there any cosmic signs around that time? Maybe an eclipse, a Pluto transit, or Saturn testing your patience? Here are a few other questions to think about. Think about your last intense relationship. Does it feel familiar? Chances are, if it does, you're dealing with karmic energy. Recognizing that familiarity is the first step toward understanding your patterns. Can you identify patterns that keep repeating? Maybe it's the same type of partner, the same arguments, or the same emotional triggers. Writing this down or just taking a moment to reflect can help you see what lessons the relationship is teaching you. Am I being mirrored or challenged in this connection? This helps you distinguish between twin flames, soulmates, and karmic partners, and see the type of growth this relationship is asking for you. What am I learning about my boundaries, self-worth, or triggers? This turns reflection into action, guiding you to make conscious choices rather than repeating the same loops. By asking these questions, you're not just watching, you're actively participating in your own growth, which is exactly what a video on karmic relationships is meant to inspire. Here are some karmic relationship starter packs for different sun signs, highlighting the kind of intensity, triggers, or push and pull energy you might attract. Aries Sun with Scorpio South Node. Watch out for intense push and pull energy. You'll be drawn to power struggles, magnetic tension, and situations that test your patience and independence. Taurus Sun with Gemini South Node. Communication is key and often a challenge. Expect misaligned values, repeated misunderstandings, and lessons about flexibility versus stubbornness. Gemini Sun with Sagittarius South Node. You might attract someone who challenges your beliefs or exposes your restlessness. Growth comes through intellectual tension and the need for freedom versus commitment. Cancer Sun with Capricorn South Node. Emotional intensity meets practical boundaries. Expect lessons around security, loyalty, and balancing nurturing with self-discipline. Leo Sun with Aquarius South Node. Your karmic connections may push you to grow beyond your ego and pride. Themes of individuality versus partnership or recognition versus equality often arise. Virgo Sun with Pisces South Node. Emotional and spiritual lessons abound. You might attract connections that test your discernment, boundaries, and ability to stay grounded while navigating deep emotional waters. Libra Sun with Aries South Node. Partnerships bring repeated lessons in assertiveness, balance, and self-advocacy. You might attract fiery, impulsive partners who mirror your shadow tendencies. Scorpio Sun with Taurus South Node. Intensity is inevitable. Expect karmic partners who test control, trust, and intimacy. Deep transformation is guaranteed. Sagittarius Sun with Gemini South Node. You'll attract connections that will expand your mind and challenge your worldview. Lessons often evolve around honesty, freedom, and truth versus illusion. Capricorn Sun with Cancer South Node. Karmic relationships may center around responsibility, emotional vulnerability, and family or career conflicts. Expect lessons in balancing ambition with heart. Aquarius Sun with Leo South Node. Your karmic ties may push you to face pride, creativity, or ego issues. Lessons often involve collaboration versus self-expression. Pisces Sun with Virgo South Node. Spiritual and practical lessons collide. You might attract partners who mirror your need to serve, heal, or sacrifice. The key is learning boundaries. So when you feel a pull of a karmic connection, pause and reflect. What am I meant to learn here? Am I being shown where I need to set boundaries, honor myself, worth, or heal all patterns? Karmic relationships are mirrors. They reflect what you need to see about yourself, often in ways that others easy relationships simply cannot. How it feels when a karmic relationship ends. Ending a karmic relationship is rarely simple. It's like pulling away from the storm that's been raging in your soul. Even if you know it's the right choice, even if you've learned the lessons, there's often a lingering sense of attachment, like a thread tying you to the other person that you can't immediately sever. Emotionally, it can feel like grief. Even if the relationship was toxic or turbulent, you might experience waves of nostalgia, confusion, or longing. Because karmic relationships don't just touch the surface. They dig deep, hidden your core fears, desires, and unresolved patterns. You might find yourself replaying moments, questioning what you could have done differently, or wondering why you still feel connected. Physically, some people even notice lingering tension or exhaustion. Being in a karmic connection often demands high emotional or energetic output, so when it ends, there's a kind of withdrawal, almost like coming down from an emotional high. You may feel heavy, drained, or even a little unmoored as your system adjusts to the absence of the intense energy. Astrologically, endings can be mirrored by Pluto or Saturn transits. Pluto often marking a death and rebirth phase, and Saturn teaching lessons of closure, boundaries, and maturity. These planetary influences underline that the ending isn't punishment, it's transformation. Ultimately, when a karmic relationship ends, it can feel like a paradox, painful to let go, yet liberating in the release. The intensity fades, space opens, and you begin to reclaim yourself. You carry the lessons, the growth, and the memory, but the attachment loosens and the soul moves forward, wiser, stronger, and more self-aware than before. So what's the takeaway from all of this? Karmic relationships are intense, unforgettable, and transformative, but they are not meant to define you or trap you forever. They show up to teach, to challenge, and to reveal parts of yourself that you might have been avoiding. They're mirrors, teachers, and sometimes even accelerators of your personal growth. The signs we talked about: instant intensity, emotional highs and lows, power struggles, repeating patterns, feeling drained, lessons about self-worth, that sense of fate. They're all signals from the universe that this connection matters on a soul level. But matters doesn't always mean lasts forever. It means there's a lesson waiting for you. And the more aware you are, the more you can navigate the intensity consciously instead of getting lost in it. Take a moment to reflect. What patterns keep showing up in your relationships? Which lessons are you being nudged to learn? Astrology can guide you, but the real magic happens when you pause, observe, and apply those insights to your life. Karmic relationships can be painful, yes, but they can also be incredibly beautiful if you allow yourself to grow from them. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure to check out this video right here, and I'll see you there. Bye!